The series begins with this girl named Iyumbi. At that time, she had a tough time in school because she was always get bullied and embarrassed by her classmates. She grew up in an orphanage with other kids who treated her like a sister. But turns out, she was separated from her twin sister, Ball, a long time ago. Unbile got adopted and had a happy life with people who loved her, especially a guy named Hun, who had a crush on her since they were kids. He even promised to give her a medal from a big swimming competition someday. But behind Unbile's seemingly perfect life, there's a mysterious person who keeps bothering her. Long story short, Unbile was on a school field trip, having a blast with her friends. Out of the blue, she got a creepy message that sent shivers down her spine. Then at night, Hun decided to visit Unbile. He wanted to ask her for help because he had a competition tomorrow, and he wanted to keep a promise they made 7 years ago. To his surprise, Unbile said she couldn't remember the promise and didn't want to remember it. When Hun was about to leave, he noticed a wound on Unbile's neck. He got worried about her, but she insisted that she wasn't the same person he used to know. On the bus, Unbile was in a bad mood. She even unintentionally snapped at one of her best friends and got irritated with herself. While she was trying to calm down, she accidentally spotted Unbile. Out of curiosity, Unbile decided to follow her. As she followed Unbile realized how tough Unbile's life had become. Unbile had been kicked out of school because of a problem and had reached a point where she tried to take her own life. Luckily, Unbile discovered Unbile's desperate actions. Unable to see her twin sister suffer like that, Unbile gave in. She let Unbile take her place while she chose to disappear. Unbile, who everyone had mistaken for Unbile, was also surprised when the lady in front of her introduced herself as her mother. She had lost her memory, and there was no telling when it might come back. Not just Unbile's mom, but Songju and Nyan were also shocked by the news. The next day, Unbile went to school pretending to be Unbile. She got all confused while looking for her classroom and bumped into a guy with blonde hair named Gong Tagwang. Tagwang found it odd how different Unbile was acting. After school, Yeoman, who Songju teasingly called Wallet, came over to join them. They all decided to have some fun at a karaoke place, but Yeoman's card got blocked by her mom, landing them at the police station. Luckily, their homeroom teacher, Mr. Kim, came to the rescue and paid off the bill. After that, Yeoman and Unbile were waiting for the bus together. Unbile tried to cheer up the mood by saying she'd treat Yeoman next time. Out of the blue, she asked if Unbile had really lost her memory or if she was faking it. This made Unbile think that they weren't that close in the past. Taking advantage of the situation, Yeoman falsely accused Unbile of stealing her mother's jewelry and hiding it in Unbile's locker. In reality, Yeoman and Unbile had swapped lockers before Unbile lost her memory. Shortly after, Tagwang approached Unbile, who was lost in thought on the rooftop. He playfully teased her about how she used to like him in the past. Tagwang also revealed a secret that her father was the school director. Unbile found her current situation quite amusing. She realized that no matter what people said about her, she couldn't really know the truth. Before Unbile left, Tagwang told her the truth. In the past, Unbile hadn't treated him very well. Some of Unbile's friends cornered Yeoman to make her confess if she was the one who stole her own mother's jewelry. And Songju also knew that Yeoman had placed white chrysanthemums on Unbile's bench when Unbile disappeared. Even during the recent incident at the police station, Yeoman had the courage to tell Mr. Kim that her friends had used all of her money. At that time, Yeoman told that her friends only saw her as a wallet and not a classmate. One of them replied by asking if she had ever asked Yeoman to pay. Yeoman said yes because if she didn't pay, they might not have allowed her to hang out with them. Hearing that, Songju was surprised by Yeoman's perspective and thought it was just a misunderstanding. On the other hand, while playing in the water with Yeoman, Unbile accidentally slipped and went under the water. As she held her breath and struggled to resurface, all the memories from the past came rushing back. Her memory had truly returned. At school, Unbile decided to confess to stealing a necklace that belonged to Yeoman's mother. She didn't want Yeoman to be treated the way she had been before by their friends. Unbile's actions made Yeoman realize her mistake and decide to transfer to another school. But before leaving, Yeoman left tokens of appreciation in each of her friends' lockers. They were touched and felt like they had lost Yeoman. After recalling her true identity, Unbile decided to leave her adopted mother, Unbile's friends, including Hun. She didn't want to live using Unbile's identity, especially since Eunbile had died while saving her. Before departing, Eunbile revealed the truth to Eunbile's mother, explaining that her real daughter had sacrificed her life to save Eunbile when she tried to do the unthinkable. Eunbile's mother couldn't believe it and rushed to the orphanage to find Eunbile. The orphanage owner confirmed that Eunbile had gone through a lot of suffering and had been bullied by her friends, leading her to choose to die. Eunbile's mother now understood that everyone believed her daughter's ashes were actually Eunbile's. She pleaded with Eunbile to stay with her, not wanting to lose her daughter a second time. The next morning, Eunbile returned to being Eunbile. In class, Songju was surprised by Eunbile's different handwriting and asked if amnesia could change a person's handwriting. Sejin searched for the letter that Eunbile had written to him initially, and indeed the writing was noticeably different. When the bell rang for break, Eunbile hurried to the school clinic to avoid any questions from her friends. When she arrived, she bumped into Ta Gwang. At first, he didn't want to be bothered, but Eunbile insisted on talking to him. She even admitted that she was more of a liar than Ta Gwang and told him not to believe everything she said. Then she shared a secret with him, revealing that her real name was Eunbile. Hearing that, Ta Gwang chuckled, thinking Eunbile was being a bit crazy. Not one to back down, Ta Gwang shared his own secret with Eunbile, mentioning that his mother was none other than the top artist, Song Hee-young. As Eunbile left the school clinic, she ran into Mr. Kim. At the same time, they both received a message from someone named Chong Suin. There, Eunbile asked Mr. Kim if there was a student named Chong Suin at the school, but he didn't know all the students' names. Soon after, the students were gossiping about the school director's ex-wife, who had been married 3 times. They believed that artists like Song Hee-young only married for money. However, they were unaware if Ta Gwang was the child of the person they were talking about. At that time, Eunbile saw Ta Gwang and felt sorry for him. Can't accept that his mother had a bad reputation. Ta Gwang lashed out at one of the gossiping students, leading to a fight. Eunbile tried to intervene but ended up falling. Yayan, who witnessed the incident, immediately asked if she was okay. He got upset and yelled for them to stop hurting Eunbile. Soon after, a teacher arrived, and the fight came to an end. In the evening, Ta Gwang, who had a disagreement with his father, decided to find some peace outside. By chance, he ran into Eunbile and asked why she had gotten involved in his fight. He also expressed concern about her arm. There, she reassured him that she was okay. Ta Gwang then asked if this meant she wanted attention, recalling that she once said everything she said was a lie. From a distance, Yayan observed how close they were, which made him feel jealous. He noticed the medal hanging on the gate. Later, Eunbile messaged Yayan, asking why he left her medal behind. Yayan explained that he had promised to give it to her, even though he had forgotten about the promise. In Eunbile's class, a new student arrived today, and everyone seemed happy except for Eunbile. She felt uneasy when she learned that the new student was Kang So-young, the person who had bullied her in the past. On her first day as a new student, So-young tried to make friends with Eunbile's pals. Her suspicions grew when Songju mentioned that Eunbile had an accident and lost her memory. So-young secretly snapped a photo of Eunbile from a distance, hoping to prove to her old friends that her death wasn't true. Ta Gwang, intentionally getting in the camera's way, startled her, and Eunbile, getting angry, left the scene, and Ta Gwang grew even more annoyed by So-young's presence at school. However, So-young wasn't giving up easily. She even got information about Eunbile's previous disappearance. Someone mistook Eunbile for Eunbile and called her by that name. Eunbile thought it might be Chong Suin, whom she had been searching for, but she was wrong. The girl revealed that Chong Suin had passed away a year ago. Another time, Eunbile read some of Eunbile's notes that mentioned being harassed by someone after Chong Suin's death. Soon after, So-young approached Eunbile and wanted to talk. They ended up chatting in the school garden. At that time, So-young tried to provoke emotions by claiming that Eunbile had deceived everyone by pretending to be Eunbile. She believed she could see through the disguise when others couldn't. When So-young started to intimidate Eunbile like she used to, Ta Gwang stepped in, warning her not to go too far. He managed to stop her from slapping Eunbile. Ta Gwang had been at the park earlier and had overheard everything. Then, Eunbile explained that Eunbile was her sister, and she had just learned about her sister's death the day before. She had been bullied by her friends to the point where she wanted to die, and it turned out she was the one who had caused it. Soon after, Ta Gwang followed Eunbile as she walked away, finding her sitting quietly on the stairs after her confrontation with So-young. When class started, Tak Wang focused on Yeonbyeol. He began to mull over the words Yeonbyeol had said back at the school clinic, where she had claimed that everything she said was a lie. On the other hand, So-young continued to pressure Yeonbye to confess her true identity. After So-young left, Yeonbye's eyes welled up with tears. Tak Wang, who had wanted to scold her, could only watch her emotional reaction. Then he accompanied Yeonbye home and advised her not to reveal everything if she didn't feel ready. The following day, So-young noticed that Song-ju was feeling down after failing her modeling audition. In an attempt to win Song-ju's heart, So-young offered her a modeling opportunity with her uncle, who worked at J Entertainment Agency. On the other hand, Yeonbye and her friends gathered at a cafe. Soon after, So-young arrived, and the atmosphere took a sudden turn when Yeonbye apologized and left. Yeon followed in her footsteps and questioned her emotional state. His questions only made Yeonbye more emotional, and she asked him not to ask too much. Soon after, So-young got closer to Song-ju, and Yeonbye, feeling concerned, tried to warn Song-ju about So-young's untrustworthiness. Upon hearing this, So-young felt disappointed and believed that Yeonbyeol's words were causing a rift in their friendship. Meanwhile, So-young approached Tak Wang elsewhere. She revealed that Yeonbyeol's handwriting was identical to Yeonbye's. So-young promised to help Tak Wang dismantle everything, just as he had asked. Worried about potential issues, Tak Wang invited Yeonbye to skip class that day. He requested permission to be the only one who could call her by her real name. Tak Wang also offered to assist her if she faced any challenges while impersonating Yeonbyeol. This surprise gesture left Yeonbye amazed. Since the fight, Yeon had been ignoring Yeonbye, which made her feel sad. Hearing Yeonbye cry because her bicycle chain had come off, Yeon, who was out jogging, turned around and approached her. He remarked, "Is this what you call the grown-up Yeonbyeol?" Yeon's heart melted, and he asked Yeonbyeol to involve him in everything. On this day, Yeonbye transformed her appearance to look exactly like Yeonbyeol. She even dared to confront Kang So-young. She did all of this in the hope that So-young would stop seeing her as Yeonbye. In class, a new intern teacher named Chong Min-young had the chance to teach Yeonbyeol's class. The students, especially the boys, were excited because it was the first time they had such a beautiful young teacher. There, Yeonbye asked Song-ju about the audition that So-young had promised. Song-ju explained that the audition had been postponed because So-young's uncle was supposedly on a business trip. Hearing that, Yeonbye became suspicious because previously she overheard So-young's conversation with her uncle and learned that it wasn't due to a business trip, but because So-young thought Song-ju lacked talent. At that time, Yeonbye firmly warned So-young not to hurt Song-ju's feelings. Surprisingly, So-young said that Yeonbyeol's character was just like Yeonbye's, always meddling in other people's affairs. Unexpectedly, Yeon appeared and overheard everything, So-young said. When Yeonbye returned to class, she realized her history notes had disappeared. She made an announcement about it, and her gaze fell on So-young. During sports, Yeonbye felt sad because her best friend still chose to believe in So-young over her. Seeing Yeonbye down, Tak Wang approached her in a unique way to cheer her up, bringing a smile back to her face. On the other hand, after watching a movie together, Yeon took Yeonbye to a toy shop. There, Yeonbye picked out a white teddy bear and hugged it. Yeon's suspicions that she wasn't Yeonbyeol grew stronger, because the Yeonbyeol he knew really disliked furry things like dolls. The next day, Yeonbyeol's history notes were found in So-young's backpack. Song-ju was shocked that someone she considered a friend would do something like that. So-young's father, a prosecutor, had analyzed the handwriting of both Yeonbyeol and Yeonbye, and it was a 95% match, indicating that they were the same person. Then, So-young tried to use the test results to threaten Yeonbye, but she refused to give in and remained determined to confront So-young. On the other hand, Yeonbye met Yeon and tried to tell him that her memories had actually returned. It was during this conversation that she finally admitted her true identity. When Yeon pressed Yeonbye about who she really was, Tak Wang appeared and asked Yeonbye to leave. Yeon finally learned where Yeonbyeol's ashes were and the cause of her death. Yeonbye had placed Yeon's medal there, which deeply affected him. The next day, Song-ju informed Yeonbyeol about her successful audition and her plans to sign a contract. During the break, Si-jin tried to wake up Yeonbye, who was sleeping. After checking, they found her body temperature was too high, so Yeonbye had to rest in the school clinic. At that time, Tak Wang, concerned about Yeonbye's condition, pretended to be sick so he could secretly look after her. Surprisingly, Yeon was also worried about Yeonbye, and sneak into the school clinic room to check on her. After school, Tagwang took Unbai to the rooftop of a building. There, for the first time, he greeted her by her real name, which moved her. Tagwang told her that it didn't matter to him whether she was Unbai or Unbile, because he just wanted her to be herself when she was with him. He looked at Unbai with sincerity in his eyes. The next day, news of So Young's transfer from her old school spread quickly among the students. They learned that it was due to her involvement in a bullying case as the perpetrator. Songju, her best friend, was understandably disappointed. On the other hand, Tagwang and Unbai were on the rooftop, and he asked if Unbai was the one who exposed the truth about So-byong. Unbai casually replied that it wasn't her but expressed gratitude for the situation. At that time, Tagwang wondered if Unbai planned to change schools once everything was over, but she denied it. She explained that one of the reasons she stayed at the school was because of him, and she was happy to know him. Soon after, So Young sent Yayan a message, promising to reveal a secret about Unbai that day. Without hesitation, Yayan, who was about to participate in a competition, rushed to school. In his hurry, he had an accident that injured his shoulder. Not long after, So Young revealed Unbai's identity to the class, and everyone was shocked because she looked so much like Unbai. Tagwang couldn't stand to see Unbai cornered, so he stepped forward and asked Unbai to tell him about her twin sister's death. But before that could happen, Yayan arrived. There, Yayan spoke on behalf of Unbai, explaining that her memory had not fully returned. Then, So Young asked who he was. Not wanting Yayan to interfere, he firmly stated he is the one who knows Unbai better than anyone, so everyone needs to shut up. At that time, he tried to protect Unbai's position, and then revealed that Unbai and Unbai were twins. Then one student suggested that Unbai's sister died because of So Young, but she denied it, saying that Yoonbi was not dead because she was here. After saying that, So Young left. After all of that, Yeon intended to return to the competition venue, but suddenly fell due to the pain he felt. After being rushed to the hospital, it was discovered that he had suffered a very serious injury, which would affect him as an athlete. Unbai, upon hearing this, immediately burst into tears. The next day, So Young warns Unbai not to get too happy because Yayan won't always be there to defend her. She vows to make people around Unbai stay away. At that moment, Songju overhears their conversation and becomes increasingly disappointed with So Young. Not wanting her friendship with Unbai to be ruined, Songju decides to cancel her contract with So Young. The following day, Yayan becomes colder towards Unbai after learning about Unbai's death. Unbai waits for Yayan to return every night, hoping for an apology, but he continues to ignore her. One day, Unbai meets Yayan's father, who recognizes her as Unbai and invites her to dinner. In that moment, they gather like a family, but Yayan remains silent. Another day, Unbai receives a message from Chong Suin asking her to come to class. When she tries to call the number, it's no longer active. Soon after, she meets Chong Suin in a dark alley and then goes to class, only to find it empty. Then she starts to panic when a mysterious figure locks her inside and says she must feel what Chong Suin felt first. The person is Min Young, an intern teacher at the school, and Chong Suin's older sister. Unbai is terrified, but luckily Mr. Kim arrives and opens the door. The next day, Mr. Kim noticed that Min Young was acting strangely. He tries to find out what's going on and learns that she came to school to seek justice for her sister. Then, Mr. Kim apologizes to Min Young for a past incident and offers to help her uncover the case of Chong Suin, who has been missing for a long time. During one of Min Young's classes, Unbai recognizes her voice as the person who locked her in the classroom the previous night. They start talking, and Min Young mentions that Unbai and Suin were good friends in elementary school. Unbai used to visit Suin's house often. Then they start talking about the past. When Suin and Unbai first entered high school, Suin was heavily bullied by her classmates, while Unbai didn't defend her. So in the past, around 4:30 in the afternoon, Mr. Kim was upset because some students had fallen asleep while he was teaching. Unbai had allowed Suin to sleep in class, and nobody realized she had brain inflammation. At exactly 8 p.m., Suin passed away. Min Young was furious, wondering why nobody had tried to wake her up at that time. She believed that if they had, maybe her sister wouldn't have died. The next day, journalists were gathered, waiting for Todd Wang's father to appear. He was the one who had hidden the Chong Suin case. Thanks to Mr. Kim's recorded testimony, this case had garnered media attention once again. Meanwhile, before transferring to a new school, Eunbai invited Yayan to spend time together. She also expressed her wish for Yayan to return to his former self. Even though Eunbai knew that every time Yayan saw her, he was reminded of Eunbai. After parting ways at the bus stop, Eunbai received a message from Yayan. He expressed how difficult things had been for her and seemed unsure about how to address her. Yayan also advised Harry to be cautious. On the other hand, Tadwang was in complete despair, as he had to come to terms with the fact that his father was involved in a criminal case. Meanwhile, his mother had just gotten married. Now, all he could do was wait for Eunbai's return, as she was his source of happiness. The scene shifts by showing someone unexpectedly open the door from the outside, and Eunbai's mother was shocked to see her daughter still alive. Eunbai, on the other hand, hadn't anticipated her twin sister's return. Then, Eunbai began explaining the reasons behind her decision to disappear. The next day, So-young shared the results of Eunbai's handwriting test with everyone, claiming that the person they knew as Eunbai was actually Eunbai. Naturally, none of the students believed this absurd story. Little did So-young know that she was actually facing the real Eunbai. There, Eunbai declared that her memory had returned and started pressuring So-young. She even came close to slapping her, but she held herself because she believed that violence wasn't in Eunbai's character. At that time, Tadwang sensed that something was off about Eunbai. He thought Eunbai might be upset because he had hugged her the previous night. Feeling neglected, he confronted Eunbai, apologizing for the incident and asking her to stop pretending to be Eunbai. Eunbai then revealed that she was not Eunbai. After confirming Eunbai's whereabouts, Tadwang rushed out of school to find her. On the other hand, Eunbai's arrival at the orphanage brought joy to the children there. That night, Eunbai's mother invited Eunbai to stay in Seoul, but she declined. Instead, she chose to remain in Tongyeon for a few days. Soon after, Tadwang approached Eunbai and was surprised to see how good she was with the kids. Afterward, Eunbai bid farewell before Tadwang's return to Seoul. He informed Eunbai that he had missed the last bus, so there was no choice but to let him stay overnight. Meanwhile, Eunbai ran into Yayan and learned that he had agreed to attend shoulder rehabilitation at Eunbai's request. Confused, she asked what the rehabilitation was for, and Yayan replied that it was for his shoulder. Then, Eunbai advised him to take better care of his shoulders, especially since they were crucial for a swimmer. At that moment, Yayan firmly held Eunbai's shoulders, realizing that he wasn't facing Eunbai. Then, an argument ensued with Yayan feeling played by Eunbai's behavior, making it seem like she had died and suddenly returned. The following day, So-young appeared with the intention of causing trouble between Eunbai, Yayan, and Eunbai. She expressed her desire to figure out who the woman she really liked was. So-young also confirmed that Yayan had left the match and sacrificed his shoulder despite knowing Eunbai's true identity. In response, Eunbai said that So-young dared to use her sister, who had almost been killed, and her best friend of 10 years to manipulate her. She made it clear that she had no interest in So-young's games and told her to find another target as long as she continued to behave. The next day, Eunbai and Tadwang had a nice meal together at a seafood restaurant. They seemed to enjoy themselves, and Tadwang even helped Eunbai with the tricky task of extracting crab meat from the shell. Later that night, Yayan planned to give Eunbai his medal and express his feelings, but when he arrived, he saw Tadwang kissing Eunbai on the cheek. This sight made Yayan realize that it was time to let go of his first love, Eunbai, and start pursuing his feelings for Eunbai. The following day, So-young called Eunbai to inform her that she would be sharing a video of Eunbai without clothes. Upon hearing this, Eunbai, who had been relaxing, rushed to school. When she arrived in class, everyone was shocked to see two Eunbais. In that moment, So-young's goal had finally been achieved as they were now all gathered in one place. Without wasting any time, Eunbai immediately pulled So-young away and asked her if she had recorded the video. Unbeknownst to So-young, Eunbai had recorded all of her confessions about making the video. If So-young tried to spread it, Eunbai would report it to the police. Sonju explained to So-young that the reason everyone treated her worse than Eunbai, who lied, was because she only made friends to boost her own ego. So-young's family was disappointed in her for constantly causing trouble and changing schools, which brought shame to her parents. On another occasion, So-young tried to meet Eunbai and claimed that the video she mentioned never existed. She even thanked Eunbai for making her stop being a bad person. There, she didn't apologize to Eunbai because she understood that forgiveness wouldn't change what had happened. The night before Unbai moved, Tak Wang, unable to contain his feelings, tried to express it to her directly. However, Unbai rejected him, leaving Tak Wang feeling heartbroken. 6 months later, Unbai returned to Unbai's school with the last name Go, just like her older sister, Go Unbai. Meanwhile, Unbai was studying abroad. In last scene, it was shown that Yan successfully winning Unbai's heart. The series ends. The moral lesson from this series is if you want to stop the bullies, make sure you have twin sister and swap your identity with her.